Welcome to the third Kootenay Connect video presentation for the Bonanza Biodiversity Corridor project, generously funded through Environment and Climate Change Canada and the Columbia Basin Trust Ecosystems Enhancement Program, and sponsored by the Slocan Lake Stewardship Society. The Bonanza Biodiversity Corridor, or BBC, is located along Bonanza Creek in the Upper Columbia Basin and part of BC's inland temperate rainforest. The BBC family of projects is a series of on-the-ground wetland enhancement projects and multiple scientific and inventory studies that will reaffirm and expand our collective biodiversity knowledge of sensitive ecosystems and habitats throughout the corridor. In 2017, the BBC was formally recognized as a critical wildlife corridor for conservation in the BC Kootenays, that is rich in diverse landscapes that include wetlands, creeks, floodplains, steep mountainous slopes, and rugged alpine areas. Many species are found throughout the corridor or use the corridor for seasonal migrating between adjacent mountainous areas. Multiple scientific and inventory studies have been conducted over the last 3 years that are described in Year 1 and Year 2 BBC videos. Results from these studies will guide development of a BBC conservation management plan that will describe the ecology, biodiversity, climate change vulnerabilities, threats, and sensitive habitats, and provide a high-level roadmap for management of identified conservation values and ecosystem processes critical to conserving biodiversity within the BBC. The focus of this video is the 3 on-the-ground ecological restoration projects completed in 2020 and 2021. They are the Hunter Siding Wetland Restoration Project, the Upper Bonanza Restoration and Fish Habitat Enhancement Project, and the Summit Lake Marsh Enhancement Project. The wetland restoration at Hunter Siding involved extensive revegetation of a previously cleared area to replicate riparian wetland zone features, with a prescription of vegetation planting, creating small wetted ponds and adjacent biomass mounds for tree growth and enhanced wetlands complexity. Over the summer of 2021, the wetlands complex was monitored and early signs are very positive. A year after planting, average native plant survivability was 83%, and there was only a 5% of non-vegetated soil apparent in the enhancement area, with the rest thick with native species. The constructed shallow ponds remained wet throughout the growing season, and breeding western toads were observed in multiple ponds. The Upper Bonanza Restoration and Fish Habitat Enhancement Project involved reconnecting isolated sections of the floodplain to Bonanza Creek and enhancing fish habitat within the creek. The abandoned railway corridor running through the middle of the valley acted like a dike and prevented floodwaters from reaching all parts of the floodplain and caused the creek to straighten in several sections, resulting in reduced fish habitat diversity and quality. 5 sections of the rail trail totaling 68 meters long were lowered enough to allow for floodwater to pass over the rail trail and into adjacent floodplain areas, and to prevent the present wetland areas from draining. Excavated material was deposited loosely on adjacent sections of the rail trail to allow for speedy riparian native vegetation establishment and recovery. Several old culverts that had failed or restricted fish passage were removed. 34 cedar logs were installed in 8 sections of the creek to enhance fish habitat and to create more hydraulic diversity. Each log was sharpened on one end and then partially driven into the bank with the excavator bucket. This new technique allowed for a quick and safe installation without the need for ballast rock or cables to secure the wood. The majority of logs were placed completely underwater to lengthen the log lifespan and to provide higher quality and usable fish habitat. The Summit Lake Marsh Enhancement Project is located at the south end of Summit Lake. This site is particularly ecologically sensitive as the upstream marsh is largely maintained by an active beaver colony. The project involved hydraulically connecting the wetlands on either side of a 275-meter-long section of eroded rail bed with 5 engineered swales. Beaver dams and a lodge were in close proximity to the construction site, and best management practices were followed to ensure active dams and the lodge were not disturbed. Sediment and erosion controls were installed that greatly reduced turbid waters from leaving the site. Once the site was isolated from the water, a local contractor placed and compacted over 380 cubic meters of clean pit run and screened fill to raise the rail bed approximately half a meter. 5 swales were then built to direct upslope water while providing a dry land opportunity for western toad upslope migration in the fall. 5 short and low pedestrian walkways with handrails were then constructed over each swale. As the walkways are placed off to the side of the trail, recreationalists have the option of crossing using the walkways or riding through the swale. Final touches to the walkways will be completed in the spring of 2022 by the new Rosebery Bonanza Summit Trail Alliance. The trail edges will revegetate naturally due to the abundance of nearby seed stock, the planting of live stakes, and additional seeding as part of the restoration works. A site-specific monitoring program has been developed for each restoration site and will follow standard monitoring protocols. The Slocan Lake Stewardship Society intends to develop additional videos that describe the biodiversity, species, and habitats found in the BBC as part of their education and outreach programs planned for 2022.